Stoic rules for a up world. According to the ancient Stoics, following these principles will help you stay calm and confident even during the most difficult of times. Rule number 1, accept what you cannot change. Imagine around 300 BC, a wealthy merchant is carrying the cargo of a rare purple dye extracted from the murex sea snail. This dye is reserved only for the most noble of kings. He hauls this priceless cargo across the seas, ready to obtain his fortune. But suddenly a violent storm takes over the seas. Dark clouds surround him. Large tumultuous waves crash over the ship and completely destroy the ship and all the cargo. The only thing left of this ship is this man named Zeno from Citium, Cyprus. Zeno washes ashore in Athens, and in desperation he visits the Delphic oracle, where he asks for guidance from the god Apollo. The Delphic oracle says to Zeno, "Dye yourself not with the colour of these shellfish, but with the colour of dead men." In confusion, Zeno visits a bookstore where he reads Xenophon's Memorabilia of Socrates. As he's reading these stories of Socrates, he soaks in this wisdom and guidance and inspiration from a dead man. And he says to the bookstore owner, "Where can I meet men like Socrates?" Chance has it, as he asks this question, a famous cynic named Crates walks past the bookstore, and the bookstore owner points to this man and says, "There is a man like Socrates." What does this man named Zeno have to do with the rule, accept what you cannot change? Well, Zeno, after he met with Crates, went on to teach his own philosophy, a practical philosophy, where when the philosophers of that time would only reserve their knowledge for the rich, the wealthy, the elite, Zeno decided that knowledge was for all. He went out into the streets and to the agora under the Stoa Poikile, which is where Stoicism got its name. And he taught to anyone and everyone this great wisdom, this great practical philosophy that he had founded. That philosophy is now known as Stoicism. So, Zeno, unable to change the fate of his shipwreck, unable to change this, he couldn't retrieve his lost goods, he couldn't retrieve his ship, he had lost everything, he had lost his wealth and his livelihood. He decided, instead of fretting, instead of complaining and crying, that he would accept it. As the Stoics say, amor fati, love your fate. He accepted his fate and went on to develop something great that even thousands of years later is having a profound impact on people like myself and like you. So he accepted what he could not change and did what he could with the things that he could control. His perception, his motivation, his desire, his opinion about the things that had transpired. How does this help you? Well, when you accept the things that you cannot change, you can focus solely on the things that you can change. There is a principle taught by Epictetus. Epictetus was a Greek-born slave in 50 AD. He was a crippled man who went on to become one of the most profound and well-known philosophers at that time. He taught of the Dichotomy of Control, which is the understanding that some things are in your control and some things are not. So he said, within our control are our opinion, our motivation, our desire, our aversion, and in a word, whatever is of our own doing. Not within our control are our office, our health, our wealth, our reputation, and in a word, whatever is not of our own doing. So this understanding helps you to worry less about the things that you cannot control and focus more on the things that you can control. How can you worry less about the things outside of your control? Well, a small phrase, amor fati. Love your fate, as the Stoics say. When things come your way, the Stoics say amor fati, because this has happened to you and you cannot change it. You cannot stop your fate once it's happened. So it happens and you say, I love it. You take the best from it. Understanding this and the dichotomy of control will help you to accept the things that you cannot change. Rule number 2 from the Stoics, practice gratitude. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. Seneca. How does practicing gratitude help you? Well, it removes worries, makes you happier, makes you calmer. It displaces the negative in your life with the positive. Imagine your head is a train carriage full of different people, some loud, some annoying, some angry, many negative, some positive. Well, in life, when you start to develop a negative approach to things, a negative outlook on everything that you see in this world, you start letting more negative people onto your carriage and pushing the positive people out. And eventually this train carriage is crammed full of these people complaining, budging, shouting, spitting. It's ferocious and violent. Well, the idea of gratitude is to let in the nice people, the positive thoughts, the thoughts that say, actually, that's quite good. I'm thankful for this. This is great. The pleasant people. And as you start to do this, letting these nicer people onto the train carriage, the train becomes calmer, more relaxed, sees the better way of looking at things. Because events happen as they do, it's our perception that makes them so. And as you accept this gratitude and the nice people walk onto the carriage, some of the nasty people start walking off and the train carriage gets full and it gets calmer, nicer, friendlier. So this sounds great in theory, this idea of gratitude changing your life. But how do you practice gratitude? Well, there is an exercise I would do when I walk to work, is I think of 3 things that I'm grateful for. But I don't just think of them, I really imagine them, vision them in my mind and think how they make me feel, how good and fulfilled I am from having these things. I'm thankful for these things. So if I'm going to work, I imagine how thankful I am for the job that I have. I'm very thankful that I do something that is fulfilling and helps people, and that fills me with gratitude. And I will think about the people in my life, how grateful I am for them. And these start filling you up, making you feel better. I think on these ideas for a while, and it fills you up with a happier feeling, a sense of fulfillment. Then you think of 3 things in your life that you're looking forward to. Things in the near future, maybe you're excited to have a coffee in the morning, or meet a loved one, or catch the train and see the nice views. You think of these things, how excited you are to have them. And this idea, this gratitude, just noticing the simple things in your life, but how remarkable they really are, how good they really are. Because when these things are taken away from you, you'll realize how remarkable they are and how much you really love them. So that's how you practice gratitude. So rule number 3 from the Stoics, live in the moment. Seneca wrote a whole essay on the shortness of life, expressing, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste so much of it." So how does this rule help you? Well, we no longer have the worry, regret, sadness of the past, and we don't have the worry, fear, anxiety of the future, because these things don't exist in the present. So when you remain present, you lose these feelings of the past and these feelings of the future. When I was at school, I had this watch that would beep. I think it beeped every hour. I don't know why, but I had the idea to be present every time the watch beeped. So when the watch beeped, I'd hear the sound and just go, oh, let's be present. Let's be here in the here and now. And every hour, it would just pull me into life. When my mind started drifting into past mistakes or future worries, this little beep would bring me in. How do you live in the moment? Well, you can have a reminder, maybe an alarm on your phone or a beep on your watch or a wallpaper on your phone, something that reminds you to just be present. When you see this thing on your phone, your wallpaper, and it says be present, and you just be present. You stop what you're doing and you just be present, look around, enjoy the view, enjoy the air around you, the people around you, noises, sights, sounds, the warmth from the sun, the cold from the breeze. And you just feel these things. And with this repetition, this practice, you actually get better at being present and living in the moment. And you start to lose these worries of the past and worries of the future. Seneca had this to say: "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient, for he that is so wants nothing." So, They're Stoic rules to help you in this f***ed up world. But the world isn't so f***ed up. And if you think it is, then change the way you think or change the world. You know, a small act of kindness, a little bit of generosity can go a very long way. And for the past 10 years, I've been giving back to the world because the small act of kindness that a bin man gave me a book. I'll explain that story in a minute, but I just want to say thank you to everyone that's watching, everyone that's commenting and supporting what I'm doing. All the YouTube members, I greatly appreciate all your support. Everyone on Instagram at TheEverydayStoic, at William MulliganBrother, my own personal Instagram, and the people that are buying the Memento Mori life calendars. The calendar has helped me so much, and I get many messages from people that use the calendar saying how much it's helped them. So hopefully it helps you. And you can get 10% off with code Memento Mori. The link is in the description below. Well, I do this in every video, and I'm very thankful for all the people that are commenting. I think, and I said this last time, around 0.1% of viewers make it to this point and comment. So, I know many of you made it last time. I want to tell you the story. I don't want you to have to comment about anything. I want to tell you a story about a bin man and the reason I teach philosophy. So, I was a builder, manual labour, when I was younger. I left school, went straight into manual labour, and I was earning £20 a day. And I was getting up at 4, catching a bus for 2 hours to the job, do a job, full day's job, and then around 5 o'clock catch a 2-hour bus home. It was 2 buses. And I would do this every day. I did not enjoy my job because of the long hours, and it just wasn't fun. And I remember my mum said to me, "Why don't you read a book on the bus?" So I thought, yeah, I'm sat on a bus for an hour, sat at a bus stop for a while, get the next bus for 30 minutes, then wait to be picked up from my boss. I have a long time to read. So I took one of my mum's books on psychology, and I began to read on the bus. I have hours to read, so it's all good, learn very great wisdom from this book. And I start to read all the books off my mum's shelf and start learning about literature, philosophy, psychology, drugs, because she worked in rehab, she was a nurse. And anyway, I start to see this time on the bus as a gift. I think to myself, wow, all the people I know never have a chance to read because they've got such busy lives, so much things to do. But I get to sit here for hours reading these books. So every day I read, and then when I'm at the bus stop, sometimes the bus doesn't arrive for hours if it's late or one's not running. So I'll be reading at the bus stop. And I remember one time, I'm sat at the bus stop, I'm actually falling asleep because I used to be very sleep deprived. I'd get like 2 to 3 hours of sleep every single day. And a bin man is coming by and he jumps off the bin lorry and he runs to me and hands me a book. And I remember I looked up at him and he started explaining. He says, "I see you here every single day at this bus stop reading, and at one of my previous jobs, I've seen this book. So I thought I would bring it to you." And the book is a very special book to me. I still have it. But it was more the act that this man, this complete stranger that I'd never met, this bin man, had been going around about his general life, and he noticed me and thought, that lad reads. And he had such a connection or such a thoughtful moment in his life. He thought about me so much that he connected this book to this random kid at the bus stop, and he decided that he would give it me. And at that time in my life, I was very depressed. I believed that the world was against me. I thought there was nothing good. I just felt this way, like everyone and everything was against me and nothing was good. But then when this one random bin man did this for me, I just thought how thoughtful that was. Like, it must have put so much thought into just a random kid at a bus stop. And it changed my perspective on life completely. I started thinking that, you know, the world isn't what I assumed it was. It's not this terrible place that's trying to put me down, making my life hard, giving me no options, no choices, no decisions to do the things I actually want to do. this was all just concepts I built in my mind. I'd locked myself inside a cage, really. And when he handed me this book, he handed me the key to understand that it's my perception that makes the world. I can see the good in the world. And from that day, I started to see the good and started to notice that there was good everywhere, and it was amazing. So if you made it this far, I thought you deserved to hear the book of how I began to teach, really, and why I started reading more because of this man. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day.